My name's David Lorimer. I'm the Global Ambassador for the Scientific and Medical Network and Program Director. And I'm with my old friend, Dr. Marilyn Schlitz, in this series of honorary member interviews. Marilyn, welcome.
Thank you, David. It's good to see you.
It's very good to see you. So I'm going to go straight into the first question, which is, who or what inspired you in your line of work?
Well, my journey began with the discovery of the book Psychic Exploration by the Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell. And that book was catalytic for me and launched my career, sent me on an odyssey, and there's been no stopping since.
Wow. And so you would have known Ed quite well, of course.
I did years
And,
later, but I didn't know him at that time.
and
It was one of
you
my
also had a
professors.
Yeah, so you also had a very formative experience yourself, which, involving your motorbike accident, which I imagine is also part of your path, part of your journey of finding your way, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I had a number of experiences that were kind of on the mystical or non-ordinary spectrum, and one of them was, as you mentioned, I was 16 with somebody I shouldn't have been with on the back of a motorcycle at the closing time of the bar, and we got hit by a drunk driver, and my body was hurled in the air, and I visually to this day and somatically remember what it was like to watch my body tumbling. So it was basically not a body experience. And then, they rushed me to the hospital and they put 66 stitches in my leg. And it was, pretty big deal. And then there was some talk about, well, hopefully we didn't have to amputate. And so I went home and I was laying on the couch in my family's living room. And I have no idea where this idea came from. But I suddenly thought, well, maybe if I could harness my imagination to heal my body, that I would be okay. And so I laid there and I visualized and I could feel the tingling in my leg. And sure enough, I went back and it wasn't like a remarkable recovery. It was a long recovery, but I healed well and I have two sturdy feet on the ground. So that's a happy ending. But I think that taught me something about the powers and potentials of consciousness, both in terms of, the self-consciousness related to self-healing, and then that experience of the out of body. So consciousness maybe being more than just our physicality.
Yes, and there's a lot of intention behind that, wasn't there? So you discovered your capacity to exercise that, via this very powerful experience.
Yeah, it was a lesson to be learned in a hard way.
Well, sometimes these are the experiences which shape us. And I know you've been involved in quite a number of different fields, but what do you think of as your most significant contributions overall?
Well, you mentioned intention, and I really got interested in looking at the role of intention in healing, and in particular, looking at how we could study distant intention. And so I've done many experiments now looking at the role of distant intention on remote um, autonomic nervous system activity for we brought people in and we monitored one person's physiology, and we um, asked a healer or a psychic or just the experimenters, and in fact we did the best in these experiments, to aim their intention toward arousing the physiology of the distant person at random times throughout a sequence. And so we counterbalanced it and we did very careful designs. And I would say that, and now that that has been replicated by a number of independent investigators, feels really great, knowing that there's been some significant contribution to the field.
And you've done quite a bit of work in connection with death and with your film. So that's maybe another area of contribution?
Yeah, I think that that's a good one. I mean, we made a film. I worked with Deepak Chopra and a production company called Petaluma Production. And we created this beautiful documentary called Death Makes Life Possible. And then I wrote a companion book to that. And I did it in partnership with Deepak. So we were able to explore different worldviews or ontologies around what happens at the moment of death and beyond. And it was very interesting, interviewing people from different cultures, different ways of life, and hearing what their own personal experiences were. And we took that film all over the world. So probably, 2 million people have seen it. It aired on the Oprah Winfrey Network. So it was a success. And I think it was fertile in helping to stimulate conversation around this often very difficult topic.
Yes, that's terribly important, I think. And we used it as well at one of our annual meetings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on to the next area, Marilyn, which is how do you see the evolution of consciousness studies and the relationship between science and spirituality developing over the next 20 years or so?
I would say it is booming. Things are happening very quickly, and there's a lot more acceptance now of these topics. The whole psychedelics piece has just gone crazy, and people are looking at it for its therapeutic efficacy in terms of terminally ill patients. I think that a lot of the qualities that we talk about in terms of spirituality, the virtues that come, forgiveness, gratefulness, compassion, empathy, all of those things are now, ripe in terms of the activities that are going on in the field of research, and in particular sort of social psychology, mind body medicine. So I would say that it's a very fertile area right now. People are doing a lot of work, and it's just beginning. I know with my students that I teach at Sophia University, the issue of psychedelics and how we can apply research methods to people's transformative experiences is, a great passion for them. So, it's a very interesting moment to be alive.
Yes, absolutely. Do you think this will help more academics and scientists talk about their own experiences? Because it's our experience, and I'm sure it's yours as well, that it's really experience that transforms people.
I think so. I think that a lot of people have had direct personal experiences in whatever domain that is, or they have a yearning to understand some of these virtues. It's how can I be more empathetic? How can I increase my level of compassion? And so that leads to research. I think a lot of work in the area of forgiveness, for example, is stemmed from the world situation, and how do we not only forgive ourselves for the misdeeds that we've done, but how do we bring this concept of forgiveness to a global situation, wherever it happens to be, in these groups that are at conflict. Can we use these qualities to peace build and to help people to live better lives?
Yes, I mean, that is just so important that we have to go beyond this eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. I mean, we haven't been very good at it up until now. Then, how do you see the importance of organizations like the network and IONS? Of course, IONS you've been very closely associated with as a former president, and we are both incidentally celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. So how do you see the significance of these organizations?
Well, happy anniversary. You've been the prime mover, and I am delighted to see it alive and well. I would say that for me personally, the network has been a powerful support system. I have been really encouraged. I have gotten friendships and collaborations from my work with the network. I was stranded in Europe when that volcanic ash cloud drama happened, and it was because of the network that I found a safe haven and a place to land. So I have tremendous love and affection for the people and the quality of the dialogue, whether it's at Cambridge or in a small center in London. It's been a really great ride. And I would say the Institute of Noetic Sciences also, may the wind be at your backs. There's been a tremendous amount of creative work that has gone on. And again, I think it provides a place for people who've had these experiences that don't quite make sense to land and feel some legitimacy, some grounding for these kinds of experiences. So yeah, I am very grateful, appreciative, and I celebrate with you for this 50th anniversary. It's really remarkable.
Well, we're looking forward to being part of the ION celebration as well. And then just the last question, Marilyn, this is probably the most searching one. What have been your most important lessons from life, both personally and professionally?
Well, right now, as the network has moved to being 50 years old and IONS is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and Sophia University, where I now work, is very close to its 50th. That means, I've aged as well. And so experiencing my own sense of calm, and I don't have the same kinds of ambitions. I still want to work. I'm still producing research. I'm still teaching, writing, exploring new areas and avenues for my own development. But I don't have the same yearning to be out in the world like I used to. And that feels very calming. And I told Deepak, I feel like I'm a monkette. I kind of spend a lot of time in solitude. My husband was working, and so I'd be here all day long, especially during COVID. It was, an interesting moment of transition for myself, for everybody I know, for the world. And I think it was, for me, a really beautiful opportunity to explore my own inner world and to be comfortable not racing from thing to thing, just being. And so that's really an important place to be right now. And it doesn't mean I don't want to reach out. It doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to contribute. It just means that I am in a more relaxed, calm, contemplative place.
That's beautiful. And it reminds me of what Connie Zweig calls the move from role to soul. The inner work of age is the move from role to soul. And that sounds like what you're in the process of doing.
Yeah, and I think, the whole aging population, it's happening globally. And I think there is a lacuna of transformative work for that population. So how can we contribute in ways that help to heal and nurture people as they move through the aging process? So that's a part of what I'm interested in. I moved, my primary work from the Death Makes Life Possible and that project to aging and grateful aging. And I'm currently just finishing up a study on the psychomantium and looking at how these states of consciousness can contribute to people's sense of recovery when it comes to bereavement and grief. So that's been pretty amazing, actually, to hear people's experiences. And I'm also using virtual reality for that work. So it's wonderful to be able to take an ancient tool and combine it with the most modern technologies and to continue to contribute in that way. So I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marilyn. And so always very good to see you and to hear your news and exchange.
Well, I'm delighted, David. I always love our conversations and our friendship, and may it continue.
Thank you.